What is up, all you minties? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an advanced look at the X-Men X of Swords Oversize Hardcover from Marvel Comics. So, let's do this thing. Now, before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel for sending me an advanced copy of this particular oversized hardcover. This oversized hardcover is due out in the direct market on March 3rd, and then a couple of weeks later in the book market. What we're looking at here is the standard edition hardcover. On the left-hand side is the direct market variant. So the direct market variant, again, only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, In-Stock Trades, DCBS, Tales of Wonder, and your local comic book shop. They are both identical on the inside. The only difference is the cover. Here is what the spine looks like. You have the logo of X of Swords down there, Marvel logo up at the top. And then the back, very much like the design of the Dawn of X trade paperbacks, whether it's the ongoing series like X-Men trade paperbacks or the actual Dawn of X anthology series. That's what this reminds me of. So let's compare it really quick to other oversized hardcovers. Here it is compared to the House of X oversized hardcover that came out in 2019. You can tell just a little bit maybe through the video that the red is a little faded off here on the actual logo. And it's very reminiscent of the logo on the actual Dawn of X anthology trades. Maybe you can tell a little bit better here with the Shatter Shot oversized hardcover. Now, you're probably going to ask me what everyone has already been asking me. Why did they make this an oversized hardcover instead of an omnibus? Well, they've done that before in the past. They've done it with X-Men, The Wedding of Cyclops and Phoenix, X-Men Phalanx Covenant, Legion Quest, and of course Shatter Shot right here. So, X of Swords really is just an addition to those oversized hardcover books. So the book here on the left-hand side is 545 pages, X-Men Shatter Shot, and X-Men X of Swords. I keep calling it X of Swords because I didn't want to spoil it for anybody, but the real name of it is 10 of Swords, and I'll explain it here in a little bit because I know somebody's in the comments right now going, this idiot's calling it X of Swords, he hasn't read it. I did, I promise. Anyway, so where was I? Oh, yes, the page count. X-Men 10 of Swords has 720 pages and retails for $100. Now, let's take a look at it under the dust jacket. So we have the design right there, X-Men, 10 of Swords, the spine, and then the back. It's the same design that we've seen, like I mentioned, in all the Dawn of X trades. Let's take a look inside and talk about the book. So let's go ahead and get this open. We have some black bookend pages, more logos. There's going to be a lot of those in here. This is a Jonathan Hickman, well, also Tini Howard. So here are all the creators and all the chapters that are included in here. So when this book was first solicited, it had about 400 and something pages. And now it's at 720. So, and there's a total of 22 chapters, including a prelude from X-Men 12. And, oh, one thing. Big shout out to the town I live in, Versailles, Kentucky, or Versailles, Kentucky, where you're from. That's where this book was manufactured and printed. Never see that. So let's keep looking through here, kicking it off with X-Men number 12 by Jonathan Hickman. So when does this take place? This takes place after all the events, all the trade paperbacks, all those anthology series of Dawn of X. That's when this will take place. If you're reading this. So this takes place during the Dawn of X era, right after House and Powers of X. So what is the 10 of Swords? Who are they? What is this about? What's going on in Krakoa? What's going on with Apocalypse? And why isn't Excalibur 12 collected in this? Well, Excalibur 12 is actually a wrap-up storyline to the externals. And in order to really enjoy that story, I think you would have had to collect issues 9 through 12. So that's probably why they left it out. This right here, this prelude with X-Men 12, sets up Apocalypse and his role. So pretty much, we'll go ahead and start looking at the actual artwork in here. Here's all the players, all the different mutants that are going to be part of this storyline. And we're talking about mutants not just in Krakoa, but also Arakko. Alright, let's talk about the premise of Ten of Swords, and why it's important to have read some of the Dawn of X storylines. Probably just X-Men and Excalibur, you're going to be just fine, not having read X-Factor, Hellions, even though Hellions is a lot of fun, and X-Factor has probably one of the best written Polarises I've read in a long time, Marauders. So anyway, I think you'll be fine just reading X-Men and Excalibur. So, because the premise really is about... So I'm going to go just into a little bit of a spoiler here. These mutants are living now in Krakoa. They are in their own dystopia. And they're able to resurrect mutants that have died. There's a total of 5 characters that are able to bring people back from the dead. Mutants. And there's a certain rule that they have to follow in order to bring these characters back from the dead. Now, this certain rule doesn't make it that everybody can be brought back from the dead. And that's about to change, though. So, a long time ago, many years ago, long before 1963, long before En Sabanur Apocalypse was in Egypt, he was living on this one island. And he was there with his wife, Genesis, and they had kids. And that's who the original 4 horsemen of the apocalypse were. Pestilence and war, all of them. They were his original biological children that he had with Genesis. Then a big war broke out. And a bunch of these mutants that lived on this island fought in this war, including Apocalypse and Genesis. And the island split. We got Krakoa, which is where we've known since Giant Size X-Men #1, and where the X-Men have been living during this Dawn of X era. And then we also have Arakko, which is where Genesis and her children and all these other mutants that we've never heard of have been residing. And all of this is kind of held together through a doorway. Think of Otherworld, where Opal Saturnine lives. So this is why I meant by it having heavy ties to Excalibur. And I'm just flipping through some... There's Saturnine. Just flipping through some of this artwork so you can get an idea of what the oversized art looks like. So that is the premise of the story. So at the very beginning, we're introduced to this character named Summoner. He's in the prelude, this guy right here, who is leading some of these mutants from our world through Otherworld into Arakko. And he kind of betrays them and sells them out. So some of our characters are hurt. Some of them are killed, because I'm going to talk about something important here, and that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about a spoiler. And Apocalypse is also hurt. So they come back and tell everybody, like, hey, we've just been attacked. Those mutants over there, they want to take over this island here. They want to come over to our world. So that's where Saturnine and her people get involved. She's always been crushing on Captain Britain. Again, has ties to Excalibur. And pretty much the X-Men Council decide, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a tournament. So Saturnine decides to have a tournament, and that's where the 10 of Swords comes in. 10 slots will be filled to fight against 10 of their mutants from Arakko. So 10 mutants from Krakoa, including magic, a little bit of a spoiler there, against 10 mutants from Arakko. Now, the swords themselves, it's a lot of fun because you get to see the process of trying to find these swords, where they are, and they're in different locations, whether you're reading about the mutants in Arakko or whether you're reading about the mutants in Krakoa and the mutants that you're familiar with. It's a lot of fun to see how each of them end up getting their swords, and when the circles are all filled, who is going to fight against who. Now, if you're thinking there's going to be a big brawl and a big beatdown, well, I mean, yes, there is some, but then there's also different challenges that you probably won't expect unless you've been a big fan of Excalibur. I'm talking about the classic Chris Claremont, Alan Davis run. Then you kind of saw some of these things happening in this tournament. But for the most part, yes, it's about swords fighting each other. There are some deaths, and that's the rule I was going to talk about, because if you die in Otherworld during this tournament, they found out earlier because they couldn't revive one of their characters. You cannot be revived, regardless of whether you're on Krakoa with Egg and Hope and all those characters that can bring you back from the dead. Not this time. You die on Otherworld, that's it. So that's the price that these characters have to pay in order to keep these other mutants away from our world. So that's pretty much the basis of the story. I'm not going to flip too much through the back so you're surprised, but we're looking at artwork here from Pepe Larraz, who does the 3 main one-shots. So you have the writing talents of, like I mentioned, Jonathan Hickman, Teenie Howard. You also have Jerry Duggan, Benjamin Percy, Zeb Wells, Leah Williams, just to name a few of the writers that are writing this particular storyline. So it's a big crossover. It's actually the very first crossover in the Dawn of X era. I don't really consider House and Powers of X a big crossover because they were literally just 6-issue miniseries. This goes through all those issues of X-Men. So what does this collect inside of 720 pages? Well, we're looking at X of Swords Creation #1, Stasis #1, and Destruction. Those are those 3 one-shots. As well as X-Men 12 through 15, Excalibur 13 through 15, Marauders 13 through 15, X-Force 13 and 14, New Mutants 13, Wolverine 6 and 7, Cable 5 and 6, Hellions 5 and 6, and X-Factor #4. That is what's collected in here. And as I'm flipping through this is how the chapters are divided. We have a story end, and then we have the cover to, for example, Excalibur #13 on the opposite side. There are no page numbers, there's no table of contents, but they do tell you what chapter you're reading. For example, this is chapter 9 of 10 of Swords, and it is in Excalibur #13. Now, I think I've talked about the plot enough. Let's look in the back here for some extras, because I want you to be surprised when you read it, and you make up your own mind whether you like this or not. So in the very back, we have the variant covers. We have this beautiful Mark Brooks cover. This is the cover to the Rec Market variant. And these are the covers here to issues #1. Different, what is this? The design variants of the different characters, because you do get to know all these characters through these pages from the other side, the 10 mutants from their world, and how they're related to some of the characters in our world. And here's I guess these are more like thumbnails of the actual covers. I like splash pages of covers more, so. But there's a ton. It's probably why they had to do that. Marauders, I've never seen that one. That's cool. The cover that you saw earlier, and more variants. Peach Momoko. I think she's drawing the Psylocke miniseries? Now, let's talk about this binding. Okay, the very first thing I'm going to say is that the paper quality on this is thick. Like, thicker than Powers and House of X. Yeah, thicker than that. I don't know if that matters to people or not, but I like to point that out. Okay, one thing you could probably tell as I was flipping through here, or when I was looking at the spine with the dust jacket, is that it does have a flat spine. And here is the eye. It is also glued binding. Now, most of the time on books like this, they're usually sewn binding, is what at least I'm accustomed to. We're looking at a book that's 720 pages, so for the most part, I've had to hold it down when I'm looking at the earlier pages. It does stay down after a while. I feel like YouTubers, including myself and the community as a whole, has always made it seem like flat spines and glued binding, bad, right? It's voodoo. You don't do that on a book, especially like this big. That's a hardcover. But what they did here, that I've seen this trick before, is that they've used a ribbon and a mesh to kind of give it more flexibility and strength. So it kind of mimics sewn binding. And I'm not saying it's better than sewn binding. It is still glued binding. I still have to hold down some of the earlier pages to keep it open. I'm not denying the fact that it's glued binding at all. I'm just saying that what they did, and maybe you can see here when I was holding it up, I don't know if you can tell, but the color art starts a little bit further away from that inner spine, that ribbon right there. So you're not losing artwork like you would with gutter loss on a book that has sewn binding. So let's find some spreads here. Never a double page spread without spoilers when I need one, I swear. Let's go all the way in the back then. So this is a double page spread, and I don't know if you can tell, but do you see that white in there? If you hold this down, that's how they're able to kind of have it more of a flexibility, because the artwork doesn't start until right here. So you do get the illusion that you're not losing any artwork. Yes, you have to hold it down because we're literally towards the end of the book. And honestly, this will get better with time, the more you read it. I don't know how often you're going to be reading 10 of Swords, but just in case. I was trying to find one towards the beginning, but let me show another one from the back. Again, another double page spread, the variant cover. I just wanted to point that out for the people that has become an issue with. And as I mentioned, paper quality seems thicker than the House and Powers of X. And just gauging some of the artwork here towards the beginning. Then when you get to about the middle or 3/4 of the book, you don't have to keep holding it down. Just for those of you that are wondering about that. But that, as they say, is that. Now, if you're interested in purchasing this book when it comes out, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online source for collected editions up to 50% off retail price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on excellent packaging, so your stuff gets to you in excellent condition, and they have amazing customer service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And for all you Minties that are watching, if you're a first-time customer, don't forget to mention that Near Mint Condition sent you their way for a promotional credit on free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. cheapgraphicnovels.com, your source for the hottest books with deep discounts, customer service, and excellent shipping that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and the build of this particular oversized hardcover. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking this up, if you already read this series, what you thought of it, if you're gonna wait for the trade paperback because you're a big fan of the Dawn of X trades and you want to get everything in trade paperback. Again, leave all those comments down below. And if you're excited about the upcoming Reign of X. This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to our patrons again for making videos like this possible. More importantly, please everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and much love to all of you.